Have you ever felt like you're just constantly chasing your tail? You know, running on empty, trying every single productivity hack, every self-help trend out there, and you find yourself maybe back where you started, still feeling overwhelmed, or like there's just some deeper piece missing.
Yeah.
So many of us are on this quest for, like, true effectiveness, and we often look for those quick fixes, right? But what if real lasting effectiveness? What if it isn't about those surface level tweaks at all?
Exactly.
What if it's something, way more profound, like a fundamental shift in how you see the world, how you interact with it, even how you understand yourself?
That's precisely what we're here to dig into today. And it's a journey we're taking right into the heart of, well, Stephen R. Covey's monumental work, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Truly, and this isn't just another deep dive into, a time management book or a list of tips for getting more done. It's really an exploration of these timeless, universal principles that underpin not just productivity, but profound, lasting success and honestly genuine fulfillment in life.
Okay.
So in this first part of our series on Covey, we're really laying the essential groundwork. We're focusing on the foundational concepts that truly transform not just what you do, but who you fundamentally are.
Right. The deep stuff.
The deep stuff. Our mission here is to understand this principle-centered approach, to figure out how to build a life of, well, deep, sustainable effectiveness.
And we've got some really powerful distinctions to unpack today, things that are probably going to challenge how you might currently view success. We're going to delve into Covey's really sharp contrast between what he calls the character ethic, which is all about internal principles, integrity, those foundational values, and the personality ethic, which, as we'll see, often focuses more on external techniques, image, and, those quick fixes.
The shiny objects.
Exactly. And this isn't just academic, right? It's about whether your efforts are built on solid rock or shifting sand.
Good analogy.
And then we'll navigate his brilliant model, the maturity continuum, Covey's roadmap for personal growth, basically, guiding us from relying on others, that's dependence, through self-reliance, which is independence, and finally, to that highest form of collaborative effectiveness, interdependence.
Yeah.
So this isn't just about what strategies to adopt. It's about fundamentally reshaping our perspective, our inner paradigms, as Covey calls them, to unlock real, lasting growth.
All right, so let's really dig into this first big distinction Covey makes. He noticed, and I think we can all kind of relate to this growing disillusionment with what he called the personality ethic. What exactly is that, and why was Covey so critical of it?
Well, the personality ethic, in essence, it's an approach to life, to work, that really prioritizes the external stuff. Appearances, attitudes, certain skills, techniques.
Think of it as focusing on the how-tos. How to influence people, how to project a positive image, how to manage your time with the latest app or gadget.
Right.
Covey noticed it often fills our professional development world with psych-up psychology. Motivational speakers offering little more than, frankly, platitudes wrapped up in entertaining stories.
Yeah, you feel good for an hour.
Exactly. It gives you that temporary jolt of energy, makes you feel good in the moment, but it ultimately lacks the staying power to actually address the root causes of why we struggle. It promises quick results, immediate gratification, often focusing on those superficial changes rather than the deep internal shifts needed.
So it's kind of about putting on a good show.
Yeah.
That definitely resonates with so much of what we see today, especially on social media, where image seems to be everything.
That's it, exactly. And this is where the limitations become really, really clear. The personality ethic, in Covey's view, it mostly deals in aspirin and Band-Aids for what are often chronic underlying problems.
Right. Masking the symptoms.
Precisely. Imagine you have a chronic headache. The personality ethic offers you a painkiller. Okay, temporary relief. But it never asks why you have the headache in the first place. So when we feel overwhelmed by, this constant barrage of demands, the personality ethic often suggests, oh, you just need a new planner, or go to this seminar to handle all these pressures in a more efficient way.
Right. Organize the chaos better.
Yeah. But Covey forces us to ask a tougher question. Is efficiency not the answer? If we're just getting more efficient at doing the wrong things, maybe, or just more efficiently reacting to external pressures, are we truly effective?
That's a huge point. It's like optimizing a broken process.
Yeah.
You might make it run faster, sure, but it's still churning out flawed results.
Exactly. And this problem isn't just in the workplace. Covey points out how insidious it can be in our personal lives, too.
How so?
Well, say a marriage has gone flat. The personality ethic might suggest, a new book or seminar on communication tricks to make your spouse understand me better. Or, even more dangerously, it might push the idea that a new relationship will provide the love I need. The focus is always external. They need to change, or I need a new environment.
Avoiding the hard internal work.
Completely avoiding it. It sidesteps the difficult, often uncomfortable internal work that's required for any genuine transformation.
Wow. This really shifts the perspective, doesn't it? Because Covey argues this personality ethic fundamentally affects the very way we see our problems as well as the way we attempt to solve them. It means we're often trying to patch up these deep, fundamental problems that cannot be solved on the superficial level on which they were created. He quotes Einstein, right?
He does, famously. The significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them.
It's such a profound call for a paradigm shift, a different lens to view our challenges. If our underlying assumptions, our paradigms are flawed, then all our efforts to fix things are just. They're going to fall short, like trying to navigate with a bad map.
Absolutely. And we see this contrast, this superficiality versus real substance, in so many fields, not just personal effectiveness.
Like where else?
Well, think about Guy Kawasaki's insights in Art of the Start 2.0. He points out that venture capitalists, they aren't actually picking pitches based on financial projections and rates of return.
Really? Why not? That seems counterintuitive.
Because, as he puts it, most pitches submitted are more similar than they are different anyway. He says, they all project fourth or fifth year sales of $50 million. Anyone who can boot Excel can achieve these theoretical results.
Okay, so the numbers are just table stakes.
Exactly. They're surface level presentation, easily faked. What investors are really looking for are the deeper things. The character of the founders, the integrity of their vision, the team's strength stuff that goes way beyond what you can just cook up on a spreadsheet.
That's a perfect illustration. The difference between a shiny paint job and a solid engine underneath. So what's Covey's answer? What's the counterpoint to this personality ethic?
This brings us to his powerful alternative, the character ethic. This approach is rooted in, timeless fundamental principles. When you adopt them, they bring long-term sustainable results. These aren't trendy techniques or temporary boosts. They're like natural laws, Covey says, like gravity that govern human effectiveness. They're internal, foundational. It's about who you are, not just what you do or how you look doing it.
What kind of principles are we talking about?
Things like integrity, honesty, humility, courage, justice, patience, diligence. These aren't cultural fads, right? They're universally recognized, enduring truths. And when you live by them, they create a stable, powerful foundation for your life.
So it's about building from the inside out.
Yeah.
You can't just slap a new coat of paint on a crumbling wall and hope it holds up.
Exactly. And Covey really hits this hard in the business context, too.
How does that play out in organizations?
Well, he observes executives trying to buy a new culture, improve productivity, better quality, maybe customer service through just strong speeches, smile training, and external interventions.
The quick fix again.
Right. But what's the problem? These superficial actions completely ignore the low-trust climate produced by such manipulations.
People see through it.
People see through it. And when these external methods inevitably fail to create lasting change, what do organizations often do? They just look for other personality ethic techniques. They completely miss the underlying principles, trust, transparency, character that are essential for any real culture shift.
It sounds like a frustrating cycle, trying to force change from the outside without fixing the inside. It's about being trustworthy, not just acting friendly.
You nailed it. That's the core difference.
And we find echoes of this character ethic, this deep internal foundation, in a lot of really successful, long-lasting organizations. Take Built to Last, the book by Jim Collins and Jerry Porras.
Oh yeah, great research there.
They emphasize how these enduring great companies do not abandon their core values and high-performance standards when doing business in different cultures. Their strength comes from that unwavering commitment to internal principles.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it means struggling, finding people who fit with our value system in new places. It's about keeping that core character, that identity, not just bending to every external whim. They didn't just have a mission statement on the wall. They lived it.
That's such a critical point. It's that internal compass guiding them. And it reminds me so much of Howard Schultz's story with Starbucks from Pour Your Heart Into It.
Oh, what happened there?
He tells this story about a pivotal moment where he flat out refused terms from an investor because those terms would have taken my dream from me.
Wow.
The investor basically could have fired me at whim and dictated the atmosphere and values of Starbucks, but Schultz, showing incredible integrity and vision, chose to prioritize those core values, the heart and soul of Starbucks, over the immediate cash.
That takes guts. Did he get the funding?
He did. He ended up raising the $3.8 million he needed fairly, but on his terms. He understood that compromising his core principles would gut the very company he was trying to build. It's just an amazing demonstration of building from deep conviction, character literally shaping destiny.
That's a powerful testament to the long-term vision that comes from a character ethic. And, John C. Maxwell in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership kind of reinforces this too, especially with the law of navigation.
Oh, so?
He stresses that examining conditions means looking outward, sure, but it includes considering the intangibles, such as timing, morale, momentum, culture, this broader, deeper view. It aligns perfectly with the character ethic.
Yeah, it's not just the numbers.
Exactly. It's not just the superficial metrics, but understanding the underlying forces, the shared values, the character that truly shapes an organization. A leader grounded in character can navigate those intangibles way more effectively because they understand the deeper currents, not just the surface waves. Okay, so if having this strong internal character ethic is a bedrock, the foundation,
Right.
the natural next question is, how do we actually grow on that foundation? And Covey gives us a really powerful framework for that growth, doesn't he? He calls it the maturity continuum. It's not just linear, it's like this natural, almost organic process of human development. Can you walk us through what that continuum looks like?
Sure. The maturity continuum is basically Covey's map for personal growth. It shows how we evolve through three pretty distinct stages. It starts with dependence. That's characterized by the mindset, you take care of me. Think of a baby totally reliant on caregivers.
Okay, makes sense.
Then we move, hopefully, to independence. This is the stage of, I can do it myself. It's about self-reliance, taking responsibility for your own life, making your own choices, achieving self-mastery.
Got it.
And finally, we reach the highest, most effective stage, interdependence. This is characterized by the mindset, we can do it together. And crucially, this isn't reliance out of weakness. It's a conscious, powerful choice to combine your strength with others to achieve something greater than you could alone.
So it's a journey. Needing others, then being self-reliant, then choosing to collaborate effectively.
Exactly. From you to I to we.
That makes so much sense. Like learning to walk before you can run, right?
Yeah.
But what's really critical here, and Covey hammers this point home, is that you cannot shortcut this natural process of growth.
No shortcuts.
You have to take it one step at a time. It's like trying to jump from, say, level 2 to level 5 without hitting level 3. Those foundational steps just can't be skipped, whether you're learning piano or developing character.
That's right. And many people try to rush to interdependence, right? Aiming for teamwork, collaboration. But without that solid foundation of personal independence, self-mastery, self-discipline, those efforts often just fall flat or become counterproductive.
Yeah, you can't really contribute meaningfully to a team if you can't even manage yourself first.
Precisely. And here's where it gets, well, particularly challenging and revealing. The critical first step in this whole growth process, according to Covey, admitting ignorance.
Oof, that's a tough one.
It really is. He says, if you don't let a teacher know what level you are by asking a question or revealing your ignorance, you will not learn or grow. He points out, you cannot pretend for long, for you will eventually be found out. Admission of ignorance is often the first step in our education. He even quotes Thoreau, reminding us, how can we remember our ignorance, which our growth requires, when we are using our knowledge all of the time? It's about shedding the ego, being truly humble, opening yourself up to learning, and that can be incredibly difficult.
That's such a profound thought. It's hard to admit you don't know something, especially in a culture that often rewards appearing certain. What makes admitting ignorance so uniquely difficult when it comes to, like, character or emotional stuff, compared to, say, learning a skill like tennis?
That's a great question, and Covey uses a really powerful story to illustrate it. He talks about speaking with a father whose daughters were, tearfully complaining about their father's harshness and lack of understanding. Now, the father was intellectually aware of what was happening. He even admitted he had a temper problem, but, and this is key, he refused to take responsibility for it and to honestly accept the fact that his emotional development level was low.
Wow. Pride got in the way.
Completely. Covey observes, it was more than his pride could swallow to take the first step toward change. And this contrasts sharply with skill areas like tennis or piano playing, where it is impossible to pretend. You just can't fake hitting a forehand correctly.
Right, the results are obvious.
But with character, we can pose or put on an act. For strangers, sometimes even for ourselves, we avoid confronting these internal truths because they challenge our self-image. Yet Covey reminds us, deep down, most of us know the truth of what we really are inside, and I think many of those we live with and work with do as well.
So true change demands real emotional strength. To face those internal realities, admit where we're actually immature, not just intellectually know there's a problem.
Exactly. It's beyond just knowing.
That story really hits home because it shows how much harder it is to admit character flaws than skill gaps. And it connects so perfectly to Carol Dweck's amazing work and mindset.
Oh, absolutely. The growth mindset.
Yeah. She highlights that the kind of perseverance and resilience produced by the growth mindset is actually the #1 ingredient in creative achievement. And that growth mindset, it's built on the belief that abilities aren't fixed, that they can be developed. You simply cannot foster that mindset, that belief in growth, without first being willing to admit what you don't know or where you need to improve. Admitting ignorance isn't weakness. It's the very foundation for all future learning and growth. Without that humble starting point, we just stagnate.
Well said. And once that foundation of independence, that self-mastery, that self-awareness is firmly in place, then the journey leads to interdependence, which Covey describes as the highest form of human effectiveness.
Right, the we can do it together stage.
But again, it's not relying on others because you can't do it yourself. It's a choice, a conscious decision to combine your strength with others who are also independent, to create synergy. And this requires profound qualities of character.
Like what?
Well, Covey explains when discussing effective listening, for example, it involves patience, openness, and the desire to understand highly developed qualities of character. These aren't just skills you can pick up quickly or fake. They're cultivated through real internal work, self-mastery, and a genuine respect for other people's perspectives. It's a deep appreciation for collaboration built on individual strength.
This journey to interdependence, to really creating something greater than the sum of its parts. We see this play out powerfully in different organizations, right? Thinking of General McChrystal's team of teams.
Oh, fantastic example, the Joint Special Operations Task Force.
Yeah. They face these incredibly complex, fast-moving situations and realize their old hierarchical structure was just too slow. They had to overcome what McChrystal called social blanks and deep cultural differences between the task force's different tribes just to communicate effectively.
Huge challenge.
It demanded completely rethinking the conventional organizational approach to distributing information, moving away from silos and distrust to this radical collaborative information sharing. That's interdependence in action, isn't it? Collective understanding, shared consciousness, adapting rapidly. It wasn't about one hero, it was the network.
Absolutely, a network of independent experts acting together. And another compelling example comes from Blue Ocean leadership. They advocate for extending leadership capabilities deep into the front line.
What does that achieve?
The idea is to unleash the latent talent and drive of a critical mass of employees, creating strong distributed leadership. Instead of hoarding power and decisions at the top, it's about empowering everyone to contribute their best ideas, recognizing that collective intelligence, when coordinated, leads to way better performance.
So it's moving towards that interdependent model where everyone's contribution is valued and integrated. The best ideas don't just come from the top floor.
Exactly. And you even see this on a very personal yet professional level. Think about that classic advice from the Harvard Business Review article, Managing Your Boss.
Ah, yes. What's the connection there?
The authors stress that effective managers need to establish and manage relationships with everyone on whom they depend, and that includes the boss. This isn't about manipulation or just, sucking up. It's recognizing mutual reliance. It moves beyond simple dependence on the hierarchy to a strategic, proactive interaction. Acknowledging that your effectiveness, and your boss's, depends on how well you understand and work together. It's building those essential interdependent relationships for shared success, taking personal responsibility for that relationship's quality.
Okay, so building on the maturity continuum, Covey really emphasizes the profound power of how we see the world, our paradigms. He brings it back to that struggling marriage example we touched on earlier. He notes the problem might not just be communication techniques, but a basic paradigm about my spouse, about marriage, about what love really is that is feeding the problem. These fundamental paradigms of the personality ethic affect the very way we see our problems, as well as the way we attempt to solve them.
It's a lens.
It's the lens. If your underlying beliefs about a situation are flawed, all your attempts to fix it are going to be misguided. It's about questioning the very glasses you're looking through. What does it mean to really shift one of these deeply ingrained paradigms?
It means fundamentally changing how you interpret reality, not just changing your behavior on the surface. And that's why becoming self-aware regarding our own degree of proactivity is so incredibly crucial.
Proactivity, that's a core Covey concept.
Absolutely core. Covey challenges the common idea that we're just products of our feelings or our circumstances. He states it so powerfully. If our feelings control our actions, it is because we have abdicated our responsibility and empowered them to do so.
Wow. Abdicated responsibility.
Yeah. Proactivity is about taking responsibility for our own responses, regardless of what's happening outside us. It's recognizing that crucial space between stimulus and response. And in that space lies our freedom to choose.
That's the ultimate human freedom, he says.
The power to choose how we react, rather than just being driven by impulse or conditions. It's saying, I am in charge of my own emotional weather, not the situation, not other people, me.
That's such a radical idea, especially today when it feels like there's so much emphasis on external factors or even victimhood. So how does this proactivity actually show up in daily life? Covey gives that beautiful example about love.
He does, and it's one of his most impactful lessons, I think. Covey argues that proactive people make love a verb.
Love is a verb.
Yeah, love is something you do. The sacrifices you make, the giving of self, like a mother bringing a newborn into the world. It's not just some fleeting emotion or a passive state you fall into. It's a commitment, an action, a choice to subordinate feelings to values.
So you don't wait to feel loving to act lovingly.
Exactly. You choose to act lovingly, to give, to serve, and often the feeling of love deepens and follows that action. This is a total flip from the reactive mindset that waits for circumstances or feelings to dictate how we act. It's choosing your response based on your deeper values, regardless of your immediate emotional state.
That's incredibly profound. Making love an act of will, not just emotion. It empowers you to create the experience, not just wait for it. So what does this proactive mindset mean for where we focus our energy, especially when we feel overwhelmed by everything we could worry about?
This is where Covey offers that brilliant, enduring framework. The circles of concern and influence.
Okay, break those down.
Your circle of concern includes everything that worries you. You know, the national debt, global warming, politics, what other people think, things you often have very little direct control over.
Right. Lots of things there.
Tons. Then your circle of influence contains those things you can actually do something about. Your health, your work projects, your relationships, your attitude, learning new skills. It's the sphere where your actions truly make a difference.
And this distinction is absolutely pivotal, isn't it? Because where you choose to focus your energy, concern, or influence massively impacts your effectiveness.
Massively. Proactive people focus their efforts in the circle of influence. They concentrate on what they can control. Taking action, developing skills, building relationships, and what happens. This leads to positive energy, expanding influence, tangible results. They don't waste time fretting about stuff they can't change.
Okay, and the flip side.
Reactive people, on the other hand, focus their efforts in the circle of concern. This often leads straight to blaming others, feeling like a victim, complaining, and paradoxically, their actual influence shrinks.
How does it shrink?
Because by constantly dwelling on what they can't control, they neglect the areas where they could make a difference. They give away their power, essentially, and feel increasingly helpless.
Covey shares a really powerful personal story about this, right? With his son having problems at school.
He does, and it really brings it home. He admits that initially he and his wife focused on their son's weaknesses and about the way other people were treating him, all things firmly in their circle of concern.
And what happened?
He confesses, as long as we focused our efforts on those things, we accomplished nothing except to increase our own feelings of inadequacy and helplessness and to reinforce our son's dependence. Ouch.
Yeah.
It was only when we went to work in our circle of influence, when we focused on our own paradigms, when they changed their behavior, their attitude, their approach, that they started to create a positive energy that changed ourselves and eventually influenced our son as well.
Wow.
It's such a potent lesson. By working on yourself, on your own reactions, you can influence the conditions around you. You don't control others, no, but you absolutely control your response and your contribution.
That really hammers home that inside-out philosophy.
Yeah.
You want to change a situation. Start by changing yourself. And, this principle of relentlessly focusing on your sphere of influence. It has some striking historical parallels, even with figures who might be seen as controversial, like Robert Moses from The Power Broker.
That's an interesting comparison, though maybe for different reasons. Moses, despite facing huge opposition, political fights, and using often ruthless tactics, he was undeniably relentless in leveraging his ability to get public support for his massive public works plans in New York.
Right, the bridges, the parkways.
Yeah. While his methods were definitely controversial, his ability to affect what he could control, public opinion via the media, key political relationships, the physical landscape itself was undeniable. He didn't seem to dwell on what he couldn't change. He focused with this incredible, almost obsessive intensity on what he could influence.
A powerful, if maybe polarizing, example of proactivity.
A very powerful example of focusing on action within his perceived sphere of influence. Absolutely.
Now, this idea of paradigms, it extends further into Covey's concept of centers, right? Where we derive our security, guidance, wisdom, power. He shows how easily we can get centered on things that are inherently unstable, like being money-centered. What does that look like?
If you're money-centered, your personal worth gets tied directly to your net worth. Decisions become purely profit-driven. Your wisdom gets constrained by this money-making lens, which can lead to imbalanced judgment, maybe sacrificing ethics or long-term relationships for short-term financial gain.
And these centers make us vulnerable.
Hugely vulnerable.
Yes.
As Covey points out, if you're money-centered, you are vulnerable to anything that threatens your economic security. A market crash, a job loss, and your entire sense of self, your security can just crumble.
And it's not just money, is it? There are other common centers that leave us just as exposed.
No, absolutely. Being work-centered. Your identity is tied up in your job title. You feel worthy primarily when you're working. Decisions get based on work needs, sometimes sacrificing family or health. Your wisdom is limited by your role, your power by the org chart,
Okay.
or being possession-centered. Security based on reputation, status, stuff. This often leads to constantly comparing yourself to others, always chasing more, always anxious about losing what you have.
So all these centers are external, fragile.
Exactly. They're susceptible to external forces by their very nature. They offer a really shaky foundation for security.
So what's the antidote? What does Covey say should be our center? A truly stable one.
Covey argues passionately for being principle-centered. Here, your stability comes from unchanging, universal principles that transcend circumstances.
Like the character ethic principles.
Precisely. Integrity, honesty, courage, justice, human dignity, they're like fixed points on a compass. Your security comes from adhering to them, not from fluctuating external conditions. Your guidance comes from these internal truths. Your wisdom from understanding how to apply them. Your power from living in alignment with them. This center is pretty much impervious to external threats because it's built on something internal and immutable.
You know, there's a fascinating historical example that seems to illustrate this kind of principle-centered living. John D. Rockefeller, Sr., the biography titan, explores this.
That's a great connection. His life was deeply integrated with, as Chernow puts it, ascetic Christianity and the Protestant work ethic in its purest form.
So it wasn't just about the money.
Not primarily, according to that view. It was about a deep-seated set of values and principles. Thrift, self-denial, hard work, careful budgeting, a sense of stewardship. These guided his decisions. They were invaluable assets, shaping his entire approach.
Right.
This principle-centered approach enabled his incredible, single-minded focus on objectives, a remarkable consistency. His security and guidance came from that internal compass of principles, not the whims of the market. It allowed him to weather huge storms and build an empire with a clarity of purpose few have matched. He wasn't just working for money. He was living by a creed. Hashtag Bach5, planning and execution with principle-centered living.
Okay, so we've laid this amazing groundwork. The character ethic, the maturity continuum, proactivity being principle-centered. Now let's get practical. How do these big ideas translate into effective action, into strategic living day to day?
Right, the execution part.
Covey introduces his famous time management matrix. And he argues the absolute heart of effective personal management is Quadrant 2. What exactly is Quadrant 2 and why is it so critical?
Quadrant 2. It deals with things that are not urgent, but are important. Just let that sink in. Important, but not screaming for your attention right now.
The stuff we know we should do.
Exactly. These are the activities that build long-term value, prevent crises from happening in the first place, strengthen relationships, foster personal growth. But because they lack that urgency, they are so often the first things we neglect when the urgent pressures of daily life swamp us.
Yeah.
It's where true effectiveness is cultivated, precisely because it requires conscious choice and proactivity, not just reactivity.
So how does quadrant 2 compare to the other ways we typically spend our time?
Yeah.
What are the other quadrants?
It's a crucial distinction. Quadrant 1, for instance, is urgent and important. These are your crises, pressing problems, deadlines breathing down your neck. They demand immediate attention. This is where most people, unfortunately, spend a lot of their time constantly in reactive firefighting mode.
Okay, urgent and important.
Then there's quadrant 3, urgent, but not important. This is often filled with interruptions, some meetings, lots of emails, phone calls, other people's priorities that feel urgent to them, and we react, mistakenly thinking they're important for us.
Ah, the illusion of productivity.
Totally. And finally, quadrant 3, not urgent, not important. This is largely escapism or trivial stuff, mindless scrolling, time wasters.
Got it. So effective people focus on quadrant 2.
Yes. Covey argues that truly effective people actively shrink quadrant psi down to size by spending more time in quadrant 2. By proactively dealing with important, non-urgent tasks, they prevent many of them from ever becoming urgent crises. This reduces time spent reacting and gives them more control. It's about fire prevention, not just firefighting.
That makes perfect sense. So what exactly are these often elusive quadrant 2 activities? Can you give us some concrete examples we might be overlooking?
Covey lists some really insightful ones. Building relationships, writing a personal mission statement, long-range planning, exercising, preventive maintenance, preparation. Basically, all those things we know we need to do, but somehow seldom get around to doing because they aren't urgent.
Yeah, like going to the doctor for a checkup before you get sick.
Exactly. Or spending real quality time with your family, not just leftover time. Learning a new skill that'll benefit your career down the road. Or simply taking quiet time for personal reflection. These are the investments in your future self, future relationships, future success that constantly get pushed aside because quadrant 1 and 3 feel more demanding right now.
It's that difference between proactive prevention and reactive crisis management.
You got it.
And the impact of neglecting quadrant 2 can be pretty stark, right? Covey tells that story about the shopping center managers.
He does, and it's so telling. He asked a group of these managers what one thing, if they did it regularly, would make a huge positive difference in their work. Their unanimous answer: to build helpful personal relationships with the tenants.
Classic quadrant 2. Important. Builds trust, prevents problems, but not urgent.
Exactly. But then he asked how much time they actually spent on it. The honest answer: less than 5%.
Wow, why so little?
Because they were constantly consumed by quadrant I problems, one right after another. Handling tenant complaints, dealing with emergencies, putting out daily fires. That story just clearly shows how easily the urgent swamps the important, undermining long-term success and trust. They were just stuck in that reactive loop.
This focus on the important, not just the urgent, it lines up so well with Cal Newport's ideas in Deep Work. He champions discipline #1, focus on the wildly important.
Absolutely. Newport argues the more you try to do, the less you actually accomplish. He says dedicating focused, uninterrupted effort to a small number of ambitious outcomes sparks enthusiasm and actually crowds out everything else.
That is quadrant 2 in practice.
Totally. Deliberately prioritizing and fiercely protecting time for the work that truly moves the needle. The stuff that requires deep concentration, creativity. Not just being swept away by the daily flood of distractions and urgent but unimportant demands. Both Covey and Newport are essentially saying, be ruthless about making time for what truly matters.
Okay, so a central, really powerful quadrant 2 activity, one that underpins so much of Covey's philosophy, is crafting a personal mission statement. This isn't just like writing down some nice words, is it? It's about deep self-reflection. Why is this so significant?
Oh, it's immensely significant. Crafting a personal mission statement is about defining, really nailing down who you want to be, what you want to achieve, and crucially, what principles will guide your life. Covey suggests writing it in terms of your key roles. For instance, he listed his own as husband, father, Christian, change agent, scholar. This approach provides balance and harmony, he says. It ensures you don't get totally absorbed by one role to the exclusion of others that are equally or even more important.
So it acts like your personal constitution, your guiding creed.
Exactly, your personal constitution. It guides your choices, your actions, even how you react when life throws curveballs. It's that deep inward understanding of your ultimate purpose.
And once you have that mission statement, those guiding principles, then your goals become a natural extension of it, right? Not just random targets.
Precisely. Covey notes that effective goals are an extension of a mission statement based on correct principles. They should focus primarily on results rather than activity, describing the outcome you want, not just the busy work. And crucially, they need to reflect your deepest values, your unique talent, your sense of mission.
So they're anchored, rooted in your core beliefs and long-term vision, not just picked out of thin air.
Exactly. They provide that clear destination.
And these goals, anchored in the mission,
Hmm.
they act like a powerful compass for your whole life, giving clarity and purpose.
That's right. Covey explains it beautifully. It identifies where you want to be, and in the process helps you determine where you are. It gives you important information on how to get there, and it tells you when you have arrived. It unifies your efforts and energy. It gives meaning and purpose to all you do.
Wow.
Without that clarity, our efforts get scattered, energy wasted, direction lost. Like a ship without a rudder. A well-crafted mission and its goals bring coherence, focus, and real purpose to our daily lives, making sure every step aligns with our deepest values.
Okay, so to bring the section toward a close, let's touch on what Covey considers an ultimate quadrant 2 investment, something truly foundational, spiritual renewal. Now, for listeners who maybe don't identify with traditional religion, how does this concept still apply? Are there non-religious ways to invest in this?
That's a really vital clarification. Covey's concept of spiritual renewal isn't strictly about religion, though for many people it certainly includes that. At its core, it's about nurturing your inner self, your spirit, your connection to whatever gives your life meaning and purpose, whatever that means for you.
Right. It's the investment in your belief system, your core values, your understanding of life's deeper purpose. For some, yeah, it might be meditation, prayer, scripture study. But for others, it could be immersing yourself in nature, spending time in the wilderness to gain perspective.
Right.
It could be dedicated time for mindfulness, practicing gratitude, engaging in creative pursuits, art, music, writing that feed your soul. It could be deep reading that expands your worldview, or simply setting aside quiet time for reflection and contemplation, deliberately stepping away from the constant noise.
That makes it much more universal. It's about consciously connecting to something larger than yourself, or maybe just deeper within yourself. And Covey uses some incredibly powerful quotes to drive this home. Martin Luther, for instance.
Yes, Martin Luther famously said, "I have so much to do today, I'll need to spend another hour on my knees." Just think about that perspective. The more demands, the more pressure, the more time he chose to invest in spiritual grounding, not less.
Wow. That's prioritizing the deeply important over the merely urgent, even when urgency is screaming. It's a perfect illustration. He understood his capacity came from that internal wellspring.
And the Zen master story, the one who never leaves my place of meditation.
Right. A Zen master, known for his incredible serenity amid chaos, was asked how he maintained such peace. He replied, "I never leave my place of meditation."
You didn't mean literally.
No, not literally sitting cross-legged all day. He meant that the peace, the clarity, the centeredness he found during meditation, he carried with him throughout the entire day. It just underscores that investing in our core, our principles, our spiritual well-being, whatever form that takes, it spreads like an umbrella over everything else. It renews us, it refreshes us, providing this unshakable inner calm, resilience, and clarity that informs everything else we do. It's the ultimate high-leveraged quadrant 2 activity. It fortifies us against the storms. Hashtag tag outro.
So as we wrap up part 1 of our deep dive into the 7 habits of highly effective people, let's just pull these powerful threads together. We started by challenging that common personality ethic with its tempting but ultimately hollow quick fixes, and instead embrace the enduring strength of the character ethic, built on timeless principles like integrity and humility.
The foundation.
Then we mapped out Covey's essential maturity continuum, understanding that critical journey from dependence through self-mastery and independence, and ultimately to that highest form of effectiveness, interdependence, the powerful choice to collaborate.
From you to I to we.
Exactly. And finally, we explored the transformative power of paradigm shifts and proactivity, learning how to really take charge of our lives by focusing energy on our circle influence and deliberately prioritizing those vital quadrant 2 activities. Right. What we've talked about today, it isn't just a collection of interesting theories. These are fundamental shifts in how we approach our lives, our work, our relationships. True effectiveness, as Covey shows so clearly, really stems from aligning our actions with deep, unchanging principles. It's about taking responsibility for our own paradigms, our own lenses, and consciously choosing what's truly important over what just feels urgent. It's building that unshakable foundation from the inside out, realizing that genuine, lasting change always begins with you. So what does all of this mean for you listening right now? If you were to pinpoint just one thing you could start doing in your personal or professional life, that one, deeply important, maybe not urgent, quadrant two activity that if you did it regularly would make a huge positive difference, what would that be? And maybe more importantly, what's the very first smallest step you can take, maybe even today, to make that quadrant two activity a consistent reality in your life?
Because that journey to effectiveness, much like any really profound transformation, it begins with that honest look inward and then a steadfast commitment to those foundational principles. It's not really a destination you arrive at, but a continuous process of growth, refinement, and choosing day by day to live proactively, guided by your deepest values. We hope you'll begin or maybe continue that journey today.